We are breaking the barriers to our creativity.
And I hope that's not a euphemism for divorce.
I'm Sandy.
And I'm John.
And this is My Lady Disdain. So the team at Create Room...
That's the Dreambox company, right?
Yes. They've established a 5-step process to help unlock your creativity and figure out exactly what your barriers are to keep things moving in your creative life.
So we're actually going to do that with you today. Talk about our blockages, what's stopping us from being creative, and maybe it'll help you as well. Feel free to follow along on your own computer. All right, so here is the Create Room website. To start the Create Room journey, you just go here to the Community tab, and it breaks it down into 5 steps.
Discover your creative purpose, identify barriers to creativity, create goals, get organized, and create room every day. That sounds good to me.
It's create room every day. Or is it create room every day?
I think it's create room every day.
It's a damn clever company names. Step 1, discover your creative purpose.
So let's take a look at the pretty little icons.
Yeah, we've got expression, growth, connection.
The first step in the Create Room journey is to help you clearly see the role creativity plays in your life and why you value it.
Okay, so that's what the drawings are, is what are we getting out of being creative?
Right.
We do have the ability to download a free workbook so that you can mark it down on paper, your different answers to what's coming up. So we're going to do it just on paper as we look at this. By all means, go ahead and download that for yourself so you can follow along. Explore your personality.
Yeah, so creating something with your hands is a powerful process. It fulfills deep human needs. So this is basically going into that we have different reasons why we decide to create. They believe that they are joy, calm, connection, energy, growth, expression, and renewal.
And we're basically going to be reflecting on experiences that have elicited each of these types of responses. Let's talk about this a little bit. I'm gonna get some scrap paper here. Expression, authenticity, and individuality. Can you think of an experience that you had, creatively that allowed you to really express yourself?
Okay, so for being creative, I mean, we are both actors initially before we started doing this.
Yep.
I would say I have started really acting through these dolls. Like I dress them in ways that suit my personality. I express a lot through these dolls and through the outfits that we make for them and even buy for them. And it helps me sort of express who I like to be inside.
Allowing sort of a part of your inner persona out.
Yes.
Okay. We'll say dressing dolls, essentially. Expression is weird for me. I often feel like the ideas that I have, all right, divine is not the right word, but in inaccessibility, access to the thing inside me that produces ideas, and they come when they come, and this is a very ADHD thing.
And when they come in like torrents.
And so what I do is in service to the idea, and so rarely do I feel like that's expressing myself. It's expressing the idea. Even though that idea is me.
It's from you.
It doesn't feel like that for me. I'm weird about expressing individuality, and I'm more so about bringing something into the world that is its own. How about growth, learning, and exploration? What experience can you think of, what's the first thing you think of that has provided you with growth?
Well, we recently did a project where we created steampunk versions of the 3 Greek fates. And I had the opportunity to decide how their personalities would be expressed through the clothing. And I challenged myself to really give each of them something very unique. And I was very proud of that.
You talked about the challenge. How did you grow as a result of that project?
I would say I learned that I'm capable of a lot more than I actually thought that I was.
So it gave you like self-confidence?
Yeah, it gave me a lot of self-confidence.
For me, well, to your point, when we did the sort of short film, in essence, of the Fates, I really pushed myself to tell a story in ways that I've never done before. It was a huge challenge, but we did it. And I now have even higher expectations of myself. But I'm also taking them in smaller chunks, so I'm working up towards that. It's like I'm learning.
That perfectionist nature that we have. It's like,
Yeah.
once we realize, we definitely know that we are more powerful as a couple. Once we realize that we can get over one hurdle, the next one's got to be bigger. Like, why didn't we go bigger?
How about connection? Creating a deeper meaning and bonding.
Well, I think that we started this YouTube channel together, and I think that that actually helped me connect to you more.
Yeah, that's true.
So I think all of these hobbies that we do together, we've found ways to incorporate our hobbies. And so creativity has actually bonded us closer together as a couple.
You've also done some collaborations that have started some pretty serious bonding with other people.
Yeah, I've actually made a few good friends through doing our collaborations, which is really wonderful.
Connection is what drives me on almost everything I do. If I carve a statue in the middle of nowhere, why did I bother doing this?
Right.
If I am creating something and it doesn't involve more people and input from other people, I'm like, why am I doing this?
I think that goes back to our acting sensibilities. We want to be part of a team. We want to create together and share with others.
Well, more specifically, and if you are following what Create Room is talking about here, that's a drive. Acting fulfilled that. Mm-hmm. Producing videos for YouTube, building communities, even just putting the photography that I do of the dolls out there and just getting immediate feedback. And even more so now, with our Discord server, I am putting little sketches and little ideas out there and just getting feedback. Sometimes unsolicited ideas that will affect nothing of what I'm doing. Sometimes ideas that might make me turn a corner. And all the time, positive energy.
Mm-hmm. Shout out to our amazing doll community because we get all of that from them.
Okay, how about an experience, a project that really provided you with a sense of calm and peace and balance?
Oh, definitely a project that I am working on currently for one of our viewers. I sat on our sofa for several hours and just kind of used it as a meditative experience to embroider a piece for one of our loyal viewers. And it was really neat because while the whole time I was working, I was thinking about, I really hope that this person enjoys this and actually can sort of go on that creative journey with me by looking at this piece.
I'm sure a lot of you, even not just listen in our Discord server and chats and things like that love hand sewing and will do that over machine sewing. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a very similar thing, like knitting, hand sewing, embroidering.
Knitting has saved my sanity many, many times.
I do not seek calm often in my life. So this is almost, I would say, like there's nothing that I can recall of a creative process that has ever, knitting. The act of knitting, again, like you said, I don't knit much, but when I do, it is sometimes a calming thing. And then as soon as I make a mistake, I'm just like, so
red in the face, everything.
Yeah, I go Hulk on a skein. All right, how about renewal? Restoration and replenishment.
Like that thing that gives you the energy.
No, because that's energy.
Okay.
Renewal is, it's replenishment. Energy probably comes with it too, but feeling refreshed is a little bit different than, it's like feeling a weight lifted up for you kind of thing.
Yeah, I think there's been a few times where I've had some anxious moments and I have just retreated to my sewing room to work on something. And sometimes it's just drawing a sketch in my journal. Mm-hmm. or I actually have a project that I'm working on and I feel like if I can get through a step that it actually kind of recenters me. Sometimes I feel like I just need a sense of accomplishment.
There is a moment with almost every project, but I'm trying to think of like, I don't know of a specific project, but I think this is kind of how you were tying renewal and energy together. I'm energized by accomplishing something. I'm energized by connecting with people. And sometimes that brings renewal, but more often than not, my creative endeavors are draining. They're utterly draining. It's like the renewal comes through the next idea.
But then doesn't that also have to do with the fact that we have already said that we operate better kind of under the gun? So you get kind of stressed and explosive because you're usually doing everything at the last minute, which is like because we're trying to overcome those barriers.
Well, yeah, but it's also a superpower of ADHD, hyperfocus. So while we actually, yes, have the, and I think it's may differ between, each person, of course, but you can have a really hard time focusing on stuff, but if there is high value and like energy behind something for you, I can hyper focus on it, and to the point of possibly obsession and things like that. Okay, so energy.
Energy is definitely in there. I think I talked about it. It's just like when I make something that I surprise myself with.
Yeah.
Like when even I go, oh my God, I can't believe that this exists and I made it.
How does that give you energy, or that feeling that you're describing as energy? What does it lead to? Like, how does it impact you from there forward?
Confidence.
Okay. I need like the energy to get from one to the next, and I need like to always have that next thing coming. When you're doing theater, they always talk about post-show depression, which is totally real.
Absolutely legit. It doesn't matter where your mental state normally is. You get depressed when a show ends.
Because that creative process is driven by adrenaline, like the entire way through. Well, maybe not in the beginning, but once you hit like a couple weeks before the show and doing the show, you are just driving through on whatever you got left inside of you.
This one is very easy for me to answer.
Yeah. Joy, happiness, and positivity.
For me, when I accomplish something that I'm like, I can't believe I made this. I made a costume for one of our good YouTuber friends for one of her dolls. And it was so her. And the fact that I made this thing with my own hands that I knew was just going to be absolutely perfect for her, it just made me, I squeed.
She did.
I just was like,
I can hear her
John,
from downstairs.
I made this, and she's just gonna be so excited, and I get a lot of joy from that.
Making something for somebody else with love and having that moment where you're just like, this is, everything clicks.
Yeah, there's nothing quite like that.
I find joy in small moments, I think like you, but small things. To introduce one of our new dolls, a custom doll that we had a now friend, but a member of the community, create for us, I decided to make a little, really mini short film, and it was one shot, a mirror trick shot where it's somebody looking in the mirror, and then on the other side, it's a different person. I had to make a whole bunch of stuff for it, like duplicate, sets and things like that. There's moments in there when I've edited a video that just like line up. I will watch the video over and over and over again.
Like,
and
I can't believe I accomplished that.
I know that I'm nowhere near as good a video editor as I want to be, but it's one of the fields that I love enough that I can overlook what's bad or unfinished or perfect and be able to really see what, like, I did what I set out to do. Now, I watch it like 6 months later and it's not so...
Why didn't I do it this way?
Yeah, your perspective changes. What we're supposed to do now is think about the stuff we just talked through and rate them 1 through 7, by what was easiest to recall or which was the most meaningful.
Okay.
So you were pretty fast on most of these. So.
Yeah. Well, what I want to say is, since we are here in a unique position as a couple who is rather in tune with each other, why don't you answer it for me?
Okay. Probably, I think your top two is joy and expression.
I would agree with that.
Connection, yes, but I don't think it's necessarily drives you as much as you're not one to work with patterns nearly as much because you're much more about self-expression, and what comes out of you creatively comes out what comes out of you in a creative process, it's hard to control, and it's just you're gonna explore and see what happens.
I tend to liken the way that I sew to being a painter, because I'm just constantly adding and taking away. Sculptor, painter, a fine artist.
Yeah.
I'm constantly adding and taking away and stepping back and rethinking things.
Whereas I'm like, Sandy, please sketch something out from the beginning and make it. Which just does not happen. Well, no, I've laid out two. Which order is it? You can tell me.
I'm going to say that it is probably expression first and then joy.
That's what I was gonna say. I'm going to put 6 and 7 are calm and renewal.
Yeah, because a lot of times I'm working under the gun.
Right.
And that all goes back to that organization, creative blocks, and ADHD. Many of us tend to operate better under pressure. Number 3 should probably be, for me, should be growth.
Yep.
With 4 being energy. And
5 is connection.
5 is connection. Yeah, that's my map.
Ordering for me is... Number 1, connection. It's just drives me in everything I do. Number 2, energy. Like, I feed off of being creative, but I have to be creative and collaborative. Like I feed off of that connection gives me energy. 3 is growth.
Okay.
Always challenging myself, always trying to learn something new, always, like, everything I do needs to be better than the last thing I did. Calm I can pretty much take off. That's number 7. Renewal, I think, is number 6, and I think expression is 5, and joy is 4.
These are actually very challenging because they kind of overlap. You have little elements of all of them, but I think that we've done a pretty good job nailing down what our biggest ones are. And
I love that this actually quite represents a lot of the differences in us as people, as a couple, and even in our like ADHD and how it affects us. Sandy's number 1 is expression. That's number 5 for me.
I'm an introvert, so this is how I actually express myself.
Sandy's number 2 is joy. That's 4 for me. Your number 3 is growth. That's my number 3. So growth is that, like, always there. It's not the main reason, but it's gotta be there, right? For both of us. Your number 4 is energy. That's my number 2. Your number 5 is connection, and that's my number 1. So we literally have inverted our number 1s and 5s.
Interesting.
Yeah. I think it's pretty cool to get an idea of what drives us and be more cognizant of what value we get out of crafting and what we're looking for. We've gone through this step 1 of the Create Room journey. What do you think, Sandy?
I think it's really interesting. I did find barriers in even saying, like, why do I do this? What are some of the things that actually represent why I do what I do?
Yeah.
You know, and it was actually quite a challenge to think about. And I think that we need to put a little more mindfulness into it sometimes.
Yeah, I think knowing why you do something is really important. If it's not providing these things,
why are you doing it?
Yeah.
Exactly.
So that's step 1 of the Create Room journey. Stay tuned for step 2, identifying barriers to creativity, which should be right here if you're coming back to this a week or so after it's been aired. If not, we'll put up a playlist of other videos you might like.
That's all for us. Take care. Bye.
Bye.